Welcome to SWEN Remote,
a weekly newscast made by teens
about what's going on in our Somersworth Dover community
and beyond.
We are SWEN.
We are SWEN.
We are SWEN.
Welcome back to SWEN Remote. I'm your host, Calissa Stalker. This week, we will look at how different art programs are functioning during the pandemic and how they're working to keep the arts alive. First, we talked to the Director of Education and Youth at Seacoast Repertory Theater in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Created from the pandemic and new to Seacoast Repertory Theater is the Teen Rep Company. Teen Rep Company is a group of teens ages 14 to 19 who work each week to develop their skills in the performing arts, with singing, acting, and dancing. We first asked her to explain more about what the program is and how it was founded.
Teen Rep Company was created mainly actually out of the pandemic, because normally with kids that do theater, it's really about that final product. And we're in a time where we don't know if we were going to be able to do shows, and if we were able to do shows, it wasn't going to be with a big audience. So we decided this would be such a great time to actually be able to teach kids what they're supposed to be doing in these classes. So the idea behind it was to really study the process of doing theater and not have it be all about what the final thing is, and really delve more into being the singing, the dancing, the acting, and everything that goes into it.
We then asked about the other new classes that Seacoast Rep is offering for teens.
We have a ton for teens. Everything starts at 12 and over. So starts with Teen Rep. That really is kind of the core behind the whole thing. And our Teen Rep meets every week, but not only do they need to take Teen Rep, but they need to also take a dance class of their choosing. We have Musical Theater Dance 2 for the kids that aren't as versed in musical theater. We have Musical Theater Dance 3. We do a musical theater dance workshop every week, which is different choreography for a different show. Then obviously if you're going to take musical theater, you need to have a ballet background, so we do ballet, we do jazz, and then on the completely different end, we also have playwriting, and then we have an a cappella group, we have an improv group, and we do step dancing. But in total, we have 17 classes.
Next, we asked why she believes it is so important to keep theater alive during this time.
If you ask any of these kids, they will tell you that when they come here, this is their happy place. This is the place where everything goes away. When you step inside, whether it's our theater, whatever theater it is, that's when teenagers can really take the time to stop trying to be like everybody else and really come in and be like themselves. They can come in and this is their release, this is their love, whether it's singing, whether it's dancing, whether it's acting, whether it's being together. It's somewhere that they can go, they can shed everything that's going on outside, forget about the rest of the world, and just come in and create and perform theater. And honestly, theater teaches these kids empathy. Theater teaches these kids how to change the world, how to change the world through activism. It teaches them how to look at somebody that's completely different from them and see the beauty in that uniqueness instead of that person being weird. In the theater, weird is wonderful. Weird is a great thing. But the biggest thing that I learned when I was a theater kid that I wanted to give these kids is I saw theater change so many kids' lives. I saw so many kids that came into that program that found, and it doesn't even mean that kid went on to do theater, but they found their people, they found their place in the world. They found that when they came to this place, who they are was like really something special. And that's what I feel like with these kids. I mean, to be able to give them some place to come and to be happy, and for them to be able to perpetuate that is everything. To see these kids' face light up when they're here and with their friends and letting things go, that's everything. If I can give one kid that experience that just changes something, changes the way they see themselves, shows a different talent that they never knew they had, anything that's worth it. That's completely and totally worth it for me.
Lastly, we asked about how Seacoast Repertory as a theater is working to continue performances and the safety measures they're taking to do so.
Seacoast Rep has actually been unbelievably amazing, and I think the key with this pandemic is how do you change yourselves to fit in with this evolving world? And immediately Seacoast Rep came and said, okay, first we're going to start live streaming. Then we got to summer camp and we said, how can we do this safely? When we have a cast, we have that cast getting together for a show, and that cast knows every time they go out and socialize or whatever they're doing, whether it's to the grocery store, Walmart, whether they're putting on their masks, like they are making that decision on behalf of the entire cast, and the kids are the same way. So we've actually been incredibly impressed with the fact that they're doing everything we ask them to. Nobody's complaining because everyone just wants to be here. Everyone wants to keep everybody healthy and just be here. Everybody's masked all the time. Temperatures are taken when kids come in. We ask all of our COVID screening questions. We've made sure our classes are only a certain size. We probably could have them be a lot larger, but we only have them be a certain size so that we can keep everybody spaced apart. And actually, we've just changed at Seacoast Rep. Probably since June, our staff has been COVID tested every single week. And now that the numbers have started to go up here, and we're seeing a nationwide surge. We've also decided to start testing every kid that takes a class, and we test them every single week. And the amazing thing is, too, is that the teens are doing their part. They know that they don't want to have to quarantine. They don't want this place to shut down because someone does COVID. So there's such a great level of policing yourself and really understanding, and these kids really understand that when they go somewhere, they're taking all of us with them. Seacoast Rep has the same idea of the fact that we are in the middle of this pandemic. How can we give people joy back? Right now, Seacoast Rep stopped doing things for the next month. We're not going to be doing anything live, in the theater with an audience. We're changing to live stream. But it's still all about people aren't going to be gathering groups. How do we give that joy back to people? And I think in this time, it's not even just giving joy back to people, but again, like people will say, like theater is their form of activism. Like we're coming into 21 and our whole vision of the season is focusing on mental health and how can we improve the mental health and how can we look at that. And that's an issue that nobody ever talks about. It's swept under the carpet. So we want to bring that issue to a forefront. And the cool thing is not only is incredibly important with Main Stage, but it's also important with these teens. Because these teens, these kids are going through everything that adults are going through with this pandemic, but on top of that, they're teenagers.
Next, we talked to a student of Teen Rep Company, Allie Glodner. We asked about her experiences with the Rep and theater as a whole. We first asked how she began her involvement in theater and how she first heard about the Rep.
I've been doing theater since I was 8 years old. I really loved singing when I was little, and my grandmother wanted me a way to express my creativity because I was a really rambunctious kid, so she put me in theater classes, and since then I've just fell in love with it. I saw one of my really good friends, Zach, in a production of Newsies, and that's when I first came to the Rep, and I saw the way that it was formatted in a black box, arched theater, and I thought it was incredible, and I wanted to be a part of that because I only really did school theater.
We then looked for her perspective on the classes, which ones she takes, and how they have helped her become a better performer.
So I'm a part of the Teen Rep Company. So Teen Rep Company works as a workshop. We all come in learning different music that's assigned to us and perform it in a workshop-based environment and receive feedback based on what we've performed and start creating a craft and developing new music and working on our acting techniques. And we also work on group numbers and have private dance classes to work on actual formation of dance technique. I participate in ballet, MT3, and jazz lyrical. And I also take private lessons with Julius, who does his own little workshop. I was never a really good dancer. Singing has been my life for a really, really long time, and I consider myself an okay actor, but I never was really given the opportunity to work on acting. So being in Teen Rep and working at the Rep, I was able to workshop them in a safe place where I wasn't embarrassed, because although everyone's really talented, the point of Teen Rep is that we're all learning and we're all growing at different paces, and it's to come together and learn off of each other and develop things. And I've become a pretty better dancer, I'd like to think, through these classes. So
lastly, we asked why it was so important to keep theater alive and what theater means to her.
COVID is a really, really hard time for everybody. We're all struggling. We're all finding lack of motivation to just get out of bed and do school. We're doing school from home. And especially as a senior, this is supposed to be the year that we're supposed to get recognition for everything, and all 4 years of hard work is supposed to be paid off. And I was really afraid I wasn't going to have a senior musical. I was afraid I wouldn't get one last chance to sing with the jazz band. And some of those things might not happen, but the Rep has given us an opportunity to recreate some of that magic and still be around these people and create a family where otherwise we wouldn't be able to, and in a safe and healthy environment where we don't have to fear for our lives. We're all 6 feet apart, everything is sanitized, so we can still do what we love and have that little bit of recognition in doing what we love while staying healthy. Theater is an escape. Things have been really rough throughout my entire life, although everyone always has really hard stuff in their life. But theater for me has been an opportunity to distract myself from the hardness and focus on something good and carry me through all the difficulties that life has thrown at me.
Of course, theater is not the only art form working to continue through the pandemic. The visual arts, for many, are another important outlet for creative expression. We talked to Miss Freer, an art teacher at Dover High School, about the importance of art and the steps she's taking to keep it alive.
I teach a lot of different classes, intro to the arts, jewelry 1 and 2, painting 1 and 2, digital media arts 1 and 2, drawing every now and again. So quite a few different ones.
Why do you think art is important during COVID or in the pandemic?
Oh, it's so important because it gives everyone an outlet to just, it sounds corny, but it gives everyone an outlet to just kind of forget about the world for a while and what's going on. It's a great de-stressor. You can really get lost in your art. It's like reading a good book. You get lost in a good book, but you can get lost in your art, and it can really help calm you down and give you something else to fixate on instead of what's going on in the world.
What kind of steps are you taking to keep art alive?
To keep it alive, I think it'd be really hard not to keep it alive, because it's so, if you think about where we are in the world and all the technology we're using, art is everywhere. It's when you pick up your phone and look at the icons on your phone, someone designed that. It's someone designs cars. That's an art person. I mean, everywhere you look, art is alive, and it's just getting people to see that and to appreciate it more, I think, is the difficult thing.
So how has art class changed, like going online?
So it's been a struggle. I think it was harder in the spring of last year because it was so abrupt the way we left. We weren't able to give kids materials, so we had to kind of rely on what you had at home. And I mean, because we're creative art people, we figured it out. We were able to give kids pretty creative projects, I think, and students did some amazing work. But it's not easy if you're in a painting class and you don't have paints. How do you paint? So it just, it was a struggle. This year was way better because we were able to give students kits. So they would pick up kits at the beginning of the quarter and then drop them off at the end of the quarter. So it's a lot more work for us, but we're happy to do it because we're so happy that you guys actually had like the materials you needed. So it just takes creativity to figure out how to teach this, and we're creative people. That's what we do. So it wasn't too much of a stretch, I don't think. Just a lot more work, but not much of a stretch for imagination.
Do you feel connected or disconnected with your students?
Oh, so right now, I feel really connected with my students because most of them I see every other day. So it's like this week has been wonderful because they're back, and it feels like a school again. And I'm able to, like, these kids who are struggling remotely, I can spend like an hour with them in class, and the problem is solved. Because they can get one-on-one time with me, and we're not flat Stanleys on a screen. We're actually people talking to each other, and it's kind of wonderful. The fully virtual kids, I'm sad about, but I understand, and I think that's harder to connect. But when you're just meeting someone online, it's a little tricky to kind of know what they need. Yeah, that's the struggle.
My last question: what do you have to say to like students who are like struggling during this time?
Struggling academically or everything? Struggling in everything? Both?
Yeah, both.
So academically, it will get better. Like, you will have time to catch up. Your teachers are so, we're so grateful to have you back, and we'll do anything like to help you catch up. It's just, this too shall pass is the mantra that I keep saying to myself, that, this will get better, and it already is. So as far as like what's going on in the world, this too shall pass. Vaccines are rolling out. The weather's getting better. You can hear birds outside. You just got to try and focus on the little things, like the birds singing and the 60-degree weather we're gonna have, and just that kind of stuff. You just don't think big picture right now. Think little picture. Just think about the little things, because I think if you think about the big things, you get so obsessed and you go into a dark place, and I think that's really unhealthy. So yeah, that's my cheap advice.
When thinking of art, we often think of physical art, such as sculptures and paintings. However, there are many other art forms that people forget, one of which is digital art. We spoke with Miss Dodge, a digital media teacher at Somersworth High School. She gives us her take on teaching art through the pandemic and how her job has changed.
So digital media, basically in this program we cover graphic design, animation, web development, and video production. So it encompasses a variety of different media that you would use and interface with online using computers.
We asked if she thought it was easier to teach online or in person, and how teaching online has altered her teaching methods.
Oh, definitely in person. I have several years of experience teaching online in general. Fortunately, there's a lot of free and open source applications we can use in place of our Adobe apps that I would normally have students work with. But it does have its challenges on a variety of levels. But it's definitely easier to help explain concepts and just show actual examples and walk through different processes with students in a live setting versus an online setting.
Lastly, we asked why she believed digital media is important to continue through the pandemic.
Well, I definitely think it provides individuals with a creative outlook, because being online in front of the screen and just trying to learn different topics and concepts remotely has been stressful and difficult for a lot of students. So digital media, it can take the form, if you take the digital out of it and you're still designing and creating using paper and paints or, drafting pens, whatever it is that you want to use, then, as long as you're finding that creative outlet.
Circling back to performing arts, we interviewed some Dover High students that participate in the honors choir, Soundwaves.
I'm Simon O'Malley, and I'm a sophomore at Dover High.
I'm Olivia Crick, and I am a junior in high school.
My name's Amelia, and I'm a junior.
I'm Gabby Patterson, and I'm a sophomore.
I am Claire Roy. So, where are you right now?
I am in the Dover High School auditorium for my Soundwaves practice. Soundwaves is like a smaller choir group that our school does. It's like an extracurricular.
I'm in Soundwaves right now, which is our honors choir at Dover High School.
Soundwaves at Dover High School, basically honors choir. So, how is it different this year than in past years?
Obviously, we're not in the chorus room, so it's really spread out and we can't hear each other as well. And it's just a different energy because we weren't able to start in the beginning of the year. And we don't necessarily have anything that we're specifically working towards. There's the talk of a concert or jazz in the park or something, but there's no specific, this is what we're working for.
Normally, we get to go to fun festivals and perform at our concerts, but this year we haven't been able to do that because of COVID. So it's a lot more practicing.
Well, first, there's a lot less belting. We're farther apart. We can't really be up next to each other to hear exactly how we sound. We have to rely on the music rather than each other.
It's definitely a lot more difficult to hear people for once, but it's also, I just feel like the connection is a little weird between everybody.
We can't all sit next to each other, which is really sad, and we've been kind of doing distance practices and all of that. We haven't really done any performances, but it's still just as fun getting to see everybody and getting to be friends and all of that and to sing together, which is the most important part, obviously.
Now, what's the most challenging part about having to do this?
Most challenging part is being able to see my friends, but not being able to see my friends. They're so far apart, and I can't really be there to hug them.
I think not being able to perform for people, because that's my favorite part, is being able to show off all of the work that you've, put time into.
Part of it is wearing a mask because it's just I know it's important to do, and double masking is important because that's what I'm doing. But it's still difficult to be able to get diction and stuff. And then it's also just you're separate from each other, so you can't really hear each other as well.
The fact that we don't get to perform as much, performances are pretty much gone at this moment, and it's pretty much impossible to do any of that.
But why do you think it's important to keep music and the arts going during a time like this?
I think if the sports kids have what they have, then we should get to do it too. I don't know. It's music is one of those things for at least all the people here that we all really love. And it's nice to be able to do it just because it's one of those things. This is the one thing I do a week, so it's nice to be able to just kind of get out of the house and do something I like.
Well, while in quarantine, music was one of the few things that was keeping me going. Knowing that I have chorus tomorrow or that I have Soundwaves tomorrow, is something that makes me excited, and music makes me happy.
I feel it almost empowers people. It just gives people a reason to almost rally, not in the same way, but metaphorically rally.
People are just hungry for it because we've been deprived of it for so long, because it just wasn't something that we could have. So it's really important to be able to have this life back, and to be able to have something that does bring us joy, because music and art is just, it's food for the soul or whatever. But yeah.
I think everybody can relate to music, and it's a nice way to keep your stress levels low, and everybody enjoys it, and it's just a good way for people to come together.
Thank you all so much for watching this episode of SWEN Remote. See you next time!